G'day, this is Captainoob, and this is a Fostech Origin 12. This is a shotgun that exists in real life. It's an American-made shotgun first developed around the year 2013, and despite its American origins, no pun intended, this thing is actually based off and an improvement of the Sega 12 shotgun, which, to put it most basically, it's AK-47 in shotgun form, and they've improved upon that thing's design and its shortcomings, and have created this thing. It's quite a beast, and if you look closely, you can just see little bits of AK poking out with this thing. You've got the upper and lower receivers here, very AKS, going down to that pistol grip. So, you know, this thing knows where it comes from. Sure, it's American, but you can't help but feel that it's a little bit Eastern in its design as well. So they've overcompensated by putting on these heavily westernized stocks on the back. Yes, that's all balanced out now. This thing is renowned in real life for its high rate of fire, and you can take advantage of its high rate of fire in Fallout 4. You can make this thing automatic if you feel like it, or semi-auto if you want to use a scope for the purposes of knockdown. So hopefully we can go ahead and see and test that later on. If it works, then we're in good business, because here's the thing about shotguns. We've done a lot of these fairly recently, but I'm looking for a shotgun mod that isn't too weak that I get killed when taking on the Immersive Gunners Plaza, but isn't too strong that I'm blowing them away without any challenge to myself. So maybe this might be the holy grail of shotgun balance. And we've got a lot of good things going for us. So we'll start off by looking at the receivers, but of course this thing has custom animations. The sounds are that of a combat shotgun, perfectly serviceable for a weapon like this, so that's fine. Let's get into the attachments. First of all, got the receivers. If you scroll all the way down, you've got advanced automatics, even piercing versions of that, which is great because normally the commando stuff doesn't give you actual armor piercing at all. So giving a little bit of extra armor piercing on a shotgun, especially since that damage is going to be divided between projectiles evenly, that'll be a nice little damage boost to where you wouldn't have any. You've also got the advanced receiver. You get less rate of fire, but the same amount of damage. So DPS wise, it looks like the advanced piercing autos are going to be the superior pick, but we'll come back and get a different version of Origin 12, or a different Origin 12 entirely, and whack an advanced receiver on it because I want to test it out that way. Next up, we've got the barrels. You can make it longer, increase your range, accuracy, and narrow the spread a little bit, making it more reliable over a more medium range. Never a bad idea for a shotgun. We've got a grip. You can have a default grip, a comfort grip, a foregrip, that is with the default grip, or a comfort and a foregrip, and it'll require gun nut rank 1 to do that, but appears to be the best modification, and you get a foregrip on the front. Pretty nice. Got a box magazine right now, 8 round, but you can change it into a 20 round drum, which is great because, you know, the combat shotgun having 32 rounds, it spoils you a little bit, so getting a little bit more closer to that is a good way of sustaining our DPS over a long period. Really secure any sort of kills, even at longer ranges where you won't be getting the full amount of damage. So right now I've got the iron sights, which appear to be just the standard sort of diamond sights. I've seen that on a Chris Vector mod once. But you can have a Trigicon sight. That's a reflex. That's an old school reflex. You used to have those in Battlefield 3. You could have an aim point version, or you could have a scope, a 6x scope. Now, unfortunately, there's no slugs to use on this thing, so it's kind of a bizarre thing to put a 6x scope on a buckshot shooting shotgun, but what can you do? We'll go for a reflex sight on this thing, and we'll move on. You could do a suppressor on the muzzle, giving it a little bit of extra damage thanks to Ace Operator, so we'll definitely do that, but will cost you heavily for range. We're going to have to make sure we fire this thing very close to enemies in order to get that maximum damage, which is fine because it's a shotgun. You can change the magnification of your reflex sight if you want. I don't think we should do anything more than 1.5 times, but we'll do that because, you know, times 1, we get that when we're not aiming down sights. You can mount a flashlight or a laser on either side, left or right side of the rail if you feel like it. You can probably grab 2 lasers if you want for that supreme hipfire accuracy. We're going to do it because why not? And we've got a marksman stock right now. You're going to have a recoil compensating stock to help you control the recoil. But the marksman stock gives you less sway when you look down scopes, which is interesting. But again, you can't attach or give yourself 12 gauge slugs whilst using that thing. So none of its ranged really ability is going to be that useful to the player, so we'll just leave that on the recoil compensating one. Maybe a scoped one will get the marksman stock for shits and giggles, but for now, here's our Origin 12. That's our first one. We'll make a couple more of these and we'll get started. And you can't craft these are available at weapons vendors or on enemies. It's injected into the level list, so you have to go out into the world and find it. No crafting on a workbench over here, unfortunately. Welcome back to the immersive Gunners Plaza, complete with gunners with modern firearms, so our work's cut out for us today. Here is our Origin 12 in first person. You might not see it at home, but those laser sights are a little bit off the reticle of the reflex sight, which is... it's not just a shotgun, so probably not a huge deal, but at least we get some good hipfire accuracy out of it, particularly when we crouch. This is what this thing looks like in third person. Note the foregrip animations are there, and if you have no foregrip, then the animations change accordingly. That's pretty cool, right? This one here has the 6x scope, which is the equivalent of medium scopes, and its rate of fire is pretty dang fast. Even with the advanced receiver, which is this one is equipped with, it's still doing a pretty good job. If I hold down the trigger with the automatic one, it does an awesome job as well. Only concern that I do have with this thing is that the decal is no longer on that tanker. Well, that's weird. That should be there. I don't think I've installed any mod that'll take that out, but for some reason, there's just a little bit of camera judder shake when you fire this thing. Potentially could be nauseating, but not the end of the world. And lastly, I've got my medium range one, and it's like a cross between the close quarters one with the reflex sight, but the scoped version. It's actually got a 3x scope multiplier on it, so it's like the best of both worlds, so something in between, complete with a flashlight on the front, which during the day, would you believe, wouldn't do much. Now, I could sit here and try to plink at enemies for doing minimum amounts of damage, but I'm thinking the spread of this weapon, not to mention the damage drop-off, won't allow me to do much. Although that turret was killed pretty convincingly. Granted, it's only a turret. They've got about as much health as an ant. And I'm not even talking about giant Fallout ants. Anyways, let's creep forward because I'm now getting shot at by explosive weapons, and that's fairly uncomfortable. But this guy... that guy had a shotgun, and we had him completely staggered with the first shot and finished him off before he could even recover from that stagger. And this is the power that we're going to need from this thing in order to survive. And so far, so good. I'm lacking the high rate of fire combined with the ability to use it as an automatic with a fairly decent ammo capacity platform there. And having them stagger all the time just because I believe... actually, I think heavy gun is stagger. Maybe there's a little bit of stagger for, whoa, okay. Jumping for joy out here at Gunners Plaza. But yeah, the scattershot automatic version of it is, good for just keeping enemies at bay. But if you really want to keep enemies at bay, you grab the scope, sniper rank 2, automatic, semi-automatic receiver, and you can knock them down before they can even get any shots at you. So for a perfect weapon just to juggle a few enemies, even at longer ranges, you get fairy taps worth of damage on them, but you can pretty much neutralize them before you can, you neutralize them before you neutralize them for good. And I don't know what that sound was, but that's concerning. Just knock you down again. There you go. That one was watching in abject terror as I was ragdolling his gunner friends to the ground there. But so far, so good. Haven't run into an MG42 yet and have had a pretty good start to our run here today without too much injury thus far. So in order to alleviate some of that recoil, you could always aim this thing in third person. There we go. That one, actually, for some reason, I feel like that Gauss rifle is so much stronger. Even at these longer ranges, we've got enough in the magazine to finish off a target that is well out of specific general Fallout 4 shotgun range, which is great. But yeah, I'm not having a terrible time with this thing. I'm not wrestling with the thing to keep its recoil under control. Wow, that gunner fell over. Honestly, getting shot with 12 gauge buckshot would probably do the same thing. I think I crippled both of his legs, but then he just got up. Maybe did a stim pack or something. I'm not really sure what happened there, but generally they don't recover from broken legs quite that fast, so maybe it was a big old adrenaline high. But now we can take on gunners at a rate which is, ooh, nice. The bloody mess explosion in slow motion, pretty nice. Yes, we can sort of dictate the terms we take on enemies and in doing that, we can take out one at a time with relative ease. But let's run right into it. We've got a couple of people here that are fairly close to each other, so we'll find a close gunner. There's one right here. Couple of bursts for you, maybe some for you, and that's all we get. Huh, that's interesting. Is it like fake automatic? Is that what I'm supposed to read from this thing? Because normally automatic guns, they've got a 3-round burst when it comes to that. So I'm not really sure what's going on there, but whatever, I suppose. It'd be good if I was to get Nerd Rage at a point where I've got many enemies in front of me to utilize Nerd Rage off of. And the opportunity might yet present itself, but for now, we'll keep on going. It's pretty good. Make sure I'll knock you on the ground, run over, and then just mag dump you. Run to the third shotgun. Now, that guy had an MG42. That was a particularly well-timed sniper knockdown there. And I think Tactical is still around. No, that's one of his other mates. That's the less important ghoul. So I guess we'll just blow him apart. That's done well there. I think the Charred Feral Ghoul, for some reason he's always friendly. I don't know if that's a bug or if that's just a chance of friendliness that I just happen to get rolled all the time with the ghoulish perk. But looks like we're about to go into Nerd Rage here, so we'll make as best use of that as we can. We've got 1 round left in this thing, so on the way down, we'll just make sure this thing gets reloaded in VATS. Thanks, quick hands. Oh, that's satisfying to use. If we get enough kills here, we might be able to... Actually, we've actually come out of Nerd Rage already. We've killed enough, but the level up is right here. Now, I am using a lot of ammo to get the job done, but at an end game level in Fallout 4, ammo is fairly easy to come by. Unless you've got, like, survival imposed limitations, but then again, you're not going to get that half damage penalty that you get on very hard difficulty. But in terms of the shotgun balance holy grail, this is a particularly good attempt. It's not overpowered, it's not blowing everything away, but, you know, the gunners are giving me a little bit of a run for my money at this stage, so if it wasn't for that cheeky little level up following the Idiot Savant proc, maybe I'd be in a little bit more trouble now. But for a perfect door-breaching gun, like, you wouldn't want to go past one of these things. Just give me a moment to reload this thing. Man's got an RPG. I did notice that he fired that, but to no avail. I barely lost any health from that at all. And that is it for the Immersive Gunners Plaza, and I gotta say, it's pretty pleasing. Oh, except for that one guy that I left. I was wondering why the combat music didn't stop. Just one gal left. Oh, even worse, I misgendered you. Guess I'll be banned on X for the next couple of hours. Anyways, that's it. Let's move on to monsters now. Alrighty, so we're taking on the Swan again today, but he's chased some wildlife. His usual spawning position is down there. He's actually found himself stuck in a house in that estate, which might be pretty advantageous for me using a shotgun, because there's a lot of things to sort of hide behind, because when you're fighting around in the open, you can only really use those train carriages, so might make the tactical decisions a little bit more interesting today. But I'm going to start off by getting as many sneak criticals as possible, and if we could get just a little bit closer, we might be able to maximize our damage by utilizing this thing in VATS to get a pretty good head start on him. Not too bad at all. Hello? Okay, there he is. We've immediately gone to the mutation, and now we can sort of dance around and get hit. I got stuck there during the reload. I couldn't sprint. I've got a mod that allows you to sprint when you're reloading, but maybe I need to reinstall that, put that down the bottom of the load order. It could be just like a weapon animation thing. Did that actually hit me at all? I don't think it did. But look at all this cover that I get from his rock attacks. That's pretty good. I think I hit a fan there. Generally not a good idea to shoot your fans. It gets you in trouble. But now, I guess we can just sort of sit under here and shoot him until he dies. Like, he's not really putting up that much of a fight at all. I think he gave up as soon as we got all of those glorious sneak criticals. That's a 70%, 79% whiffer there. Glad that one's not an XCOM. I'd be relying on a shot like that to hit. It looks like we'll have a pretty good run of this thing. He decided not to throw too many rocks. I mean, I've sort of kept my distance away from him that he's not going to use his big anchor drop either. So, yep, looks like we might be luring Swan down over into this flooded village every time. Flooded village? Flooded estate every time we fight him with a shotgun, which I think adds a lot of tactical opportunities for just doing something interesting. Slightly more interesting than dancing around things. Anyways, now we're in Nerd Rage, and I want to talk about the fire rate of this thing for a second, and hang on. Whenever you're ready. Did that cancel the reload? I did as well. Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. Good. This thing fires, like, that's not any faster or slower than it was earlier. Like, whilst he was chasing the wildlife around and trying to kill them for, like, 4 in-game hours, I actually sped the game's time up, you know, just to make that fight finish sooner so I could get down there and shoot him sooner in real time. And the way you change the game speed is you type in SGTM in your console commands, and then 1 is normal, so like a 4, SGTM4 gives you like a 4 times multiplier on the game speed. And for some reason, the fire rate didn't seem to change all that much if I go SGTM4. Like, that's the same fire rate as you'd get normally, but everything else seems to be sped up. By the way, the easiest way to get back to normal time is just to go into VATS, because the game will slow the time down into VATS dilation, but that's kind of interesting. So, whether this thing is actually truly automatic or not, I'm not sure, but I'm going to say that it's not. So, if you use this thing automatic receiver with a scope, you could probably get sniper knockdowns without having to spam on the trigger, which is kind of interesting. Anyways, we'll move on to the next monster. Alright, so before we take on the second monster, we've got a couple of petty raiders to go through. So instead of like going real close quarters and trying to kill them like normally with a shotgun, I'm going to snipe at them from back here so we can view this thing spread at range and its possible versatility of knocking down targets over its ranged approach. I wouldn't say that one was knocking down, but you get the idea. Even that Raider Waster up there basically had no problems just tanking a few of those shots. Although, she's left herself pretty vulnerable and... Okay, now they're throwing flashbangs at me. That's straight up not cool, bros. Don't do that. There we go. There's a sniper knockdown there. And we can't really see the spread because we're not firing at a wall that, you know, throws sparks. And I don't think the recoil would allow us to do that much anyway. I think there's a vertibird coming in as well. It's crazy times. A little bit chaotic. I was thinking that was a flashbang. But potentially you might see this sort of performance out of a weapon like this if you aren't playing on very high difficulty where you're getting all that damage taken away. So that's interesting. Wow. A lot of knocking up rather than knocking down, I think, today. And I can't remember. I think you can knock down My Alert Queens. Yep, you can just ragdoll My Alert Queens like that. So we'll get her aggroed, she'll be on the approach, but honestly, this is where the shotgun is going to do you the best. Because close quarters. And they're staring into a wall holding a pool cue. They're not going to last very long against you. But now the My Alert Queen is coming out to play, so I believe we've actually taken out both of her legs there. So what a perfect time to see the bash animation. Completely helpless My Alert Queen. We'll just tickle her knees a little bit before we deliver the killing blows. Anyways, now is the time to fight this fella. So we could just like plink at his shell and armor from all the way back here for ages, but maybe we want to do something different. There's the reload animation in third person. I quite like the hitting the bolt release. The weapon moves a little bit too. That's some good attention to detail because, you know, there's a lot of force behind those things sometimes, that recoil spring of theirs. We might be able to do this particularly stealthy if we can keep this guy sort of locked down, but unfortunately I can't approach him directly because there's a big bit of water and I can't fire my guns in water that's like waist deep, so we'll just have to skirt along the beach, get closer, but we're seeming to get a lot of staggers on this giant crab, so that's good. And as you can tell, he's slightly creeping into range here. We're getting so much better damage every time he does that, which is great. Might want to start backing off now because it might be go time in a second. Not quite. That's the second time I've gone straight into what is it, mutation without him even seeing me, and damn, for a stealthy shotgun approach, I don't think I've seen anything quite like that before. Normally I do that with automatic rifles easily, but shotguns, that's pretty unheard of, so that's pretty good. And I think I'm going to leave things there for the Origin 12, and thanks for recommending this. I think I had it downloaded originally, but I never looked at it until now. Like, the last time I downloaded this mod was back probably like 2-3 years ago maybe, but it's not it's a pretty old mod, to be honest, but I'm so glad that someone said, hey, check this out, because it's probably one of the better shotgun mods I've ever seen and ever used. It doesn't feel overpowered. It feels strong enough to take on the strongest of enemies, and it provides a decent bit of versatility through its innate abilities, high rate of fire, the ability to attach a scope. There's a couple of things that aren't the best with it, like not having the proper keywords in or whatever, but maybe I need to look under the bonnet to see what kind of stuff is at play here, but I couldn't recommend this shotgun enough. So if you're interested in seeing this thing in your game, check out the link in the description. Also, your laser sights freak out if you hover over water. Do you notice that? That's a really weird thing when it comes to Fallout 4, and I don't know why it does it. Anyways, so if you'd like to see this thing in your game, check out the link in the description. It should be down there. Download it. Very good mod. Check it out. Thanks for watching.